By the end of this video, your vocals will be sounding like this.
Download this preset, first link in description. I sound so sexy. Download this preset, it's the first link in description.
I already put it up on the screen, but if you want to skip this tutorial and just download this preset, you can do that right now by clicking the first link in the description or the pinned comment. Again, first link in the description or pinned comment. And I also want to shout out Contraband for the type beat that I used for the example. Go check him out if you like the beat. So let's get started with the tutorial. The first thing, the very obvious thing, pitcher, right? There are different types of autotunes, but I wanted the preset that you can download to be all stock plugins, so this is what I ended up using, and it still works really well in my opinion. All that you really need to focus on is, first of all, I mean, you can notice it in a lot of his songs, but he has the retune speed all the way up, so crank the speed knob all the way to like fast, which is the highest correction speed. And then obviously the key, you need to find the key of your song. So for me, it's D sharp or E flat minor, and have the minimum at 110 hertz. There isn't much need to correct these much lower frequencies, so just keep it at 110 hertz. Then once you're done with that, it's time for an EQ, right? So I added a high pass over here. You can get it by right clicking, type high pass and whatnot, order 2, and just removing all of the sub bass and the majority of the bass, right? Then I had over here a little peaking with number 4, and then I dropped down over here in between like the high, mid, and the treble. I dropped it down a little bit. This will remove all the muddiness from the lower end and reduce a bit of the annoying frequencies that can be found in the higher range. Then I added a noise gate, and this is really good, especially if you have a lot of background noise in your recordings because your microphone might be scuffed. So all you really have to do is, first of all, choose the threshold of where you start removing noise. So for me, I have it in negative 29 basically negative 30 decibels, and you can sort of see it as like the little yellow line over here. So basically anything under that little yellow line gets removed. Then the release, you can mess around with it because the lower you have it, I have it at 100 milliseconds, and like if you have it over here, it can be very noticeable when the audio disappears, right? It can be very choppy, so just play around with it until it sounds smooth, right? And then for all this to work, you need to drop the noise gain all the way to 0. Then you need a compressor. So just running through what I did, I went to threshold negative 11 decibels. I added a ratio of 8:1. The makeup gain, I added 15.3 decibels. The attack 6.6 milliseconds, the release 200 milliseconds, and the type I chose was vintage to have a warmer analog sound to the vocals. Then I added reverb, right? So there's a couple things that you want to do. The first thing I should mention is the mix level. I have it only at 77. You can mess around with it yourself to see where it's appropriate, but the way you have to think of it is the reverb has to be more than anything a cushion to the vocals, right? If it's overpowering the vocals and it just sounds like you're recording this from a bathroom at a party, then you should probably remove some reverb because that just sounds ugly and unprofessional, right? So key things I did, first of all, delay is really important. I have it based on tempo, right? So I have it a 1:0 ratio, and I definitely do recommend you add a delay to your reverb because or else it makes the vocals sound really muddy, just having the reverb come immediately as the vocals come. Then I also messed with the decay. I put it at 2.7 seconds. The dry level is at 100%, the early reflection level is at 50%, and I put the wet level at 36%, again, so the reverb isn't overpowering. I also added some stereo separation, 100%, just to make it very ambient, because I feel like ambience is very important to the contemporary R&B sound. Then I added another EQ. I used the preset vocal presence, and essentially this is just a response to the reverb, which most likely is going to add more annoying frequencies to the mix. So this kind of cleans everything up a little bit. Again, removes a lot of the sub bass, removes some frequencies from the low mid, which definitely causes a lot of problems. If you're ever doing surgical EQ, focus a lot on the low mids because that's usually where a lot of ugly frequencies come from. And then it also raises up the treble a little bit too, which helps give your vocal a lot more presence in the track. Then I added Soundgodizer 50%-ish from mode A. This is to give your vocal some saturation and just give it a bit of a radio, very present quality to it. Then I added a delay. I used the ping pong effect, hard pan to the left. with a time of 4:0 and a cutoff at around 9,000 hertz with a feedback level of about 62.5%. And lastly, I added one more limiter just to have the ceiling there in case any loud peaks in the vocals come and kind of distort the audio. But once you're done, that's basically it. Again, if you want to download this vocal preset the way it sounds in the example, all you have to do is click the first link in the description or in the pinned comment. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.